What's going on, folks? Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about primary key versus foreign key in the discussion of subject of keys in databases and tables. So before I even get into the minutia of what the primary key and foreign keys are, allow me to give you an example. Have you ever called in a bank or insurance company and been asked for an ID, for example, an account number, or let's say your social security number or your tax number? If yes, then you have been asked for your primary key or for a data that on their table, on their database, is actually considered a primary key data or a primary key identifier. So primary keys are is uh, is a column or a field in a table that we use to uniquely identify a record or a row within that table. So when you're working with relational databases, uh, as I said in my previous video, you have multiple tables to work with. And then what you need to do is you need to create joins or linking tables between these tables. And so in order for you to be able to do that, uh, there needs to be a way for you to be able to identify the records using the primary keys. And so if there's any relationship between those records, then the primary keys and of course the foreign keys on the other end are come to play to help you build that uh, relationship between tables. So a primary key in this case uh, uh, is the student ID. Remember that each table can only have one primary key. So in this case, we have two tables, table one, student list, and table two, residential list. So hypothetically, table one has is representing a school, a school's students list where we have collected information such as student ID, name, program, GPA, social security number, and building ID of those particular students. And then table two is the residential list where we have the building ID and the number of students that live within that building and who is the name, who is the superintendent within that building. So there are a couple of potential columns that can be used as primary key in this case. The first one is student ID. Why? Because it's meeting the requirements of a primary key. And what are the requirements of a primary key? First, the requirement is that the data in the column that's under consideration to be a primary key needs to be unique. So, that being said, a student ID is a unique ID. That means only students can only have unique IDs. They cannot share their student ID numbers. That's the number one requirement that this table meets or that this column meets. And also same thing with social security number. Each person can have their own specific, distinct, unique social security numbers. So this column also meets that requirement. The second requirement is that uh, the column uh, should not have no null values. In other words, a null data. So the column in the primary key cannot contain null value, and there has to be a specification of a value in there. So since we don't have no null values, all of the rows are filled. This means that it meets the requirements for the primary key. And then lastly, if we're going to use, if we're going to, for example, decide to choose student ID as a primary key for this table, then we cannot use SSN at the same time and have two primary keys because a table can only have one primary key. You cannot create a secondary primary key on a different column after you have created your primary key. So if you decided to if you decided to designate student ID as a primary key, then you cannot designate social security number as a primary key. Although both of them meet the requirements or both qualify to be primary keys in this table. So how do we make use of it now? Now, as you can see, we have one column here. The rest of the columns do not meet the requirements because number one, because the names, although these names are unique, but we may have, if this is going to be a long list of table records, and we're going to have a name, especially if we have different names divided into first name and last name, then definitely we're going to have more than one Abdul or more than one Michael. And therefore, a name is not a good qualifier for a primary key column. Same thing with program. Definitely, we have more than one unique value for the BA, so you will find a lot of duplicate values that does not qualify. Same thing with GPA. We have a lot of duplicate values, and we cannot. There's a possibility to have a GPA number that's duplicate between two records. And building ID, as you can see, we have duplicate records. So as a result, again, both of these columns qualify to be primary keys to be used for a relationship between two tables. Now let's talk about the logic behind it and how we can make use of it. So table 2 is the same way. We have one column, building ID, that meets the requirement to be a primary key. Let's say, uh, let's pretend that this was considered a primary key column, right? And so we have a primary key column, and we uh, we would like to create a relationship between residential list and these and at least bring over the name of the people that live within inside each of these buildings. So how many students live in building 1? How many students live in building 2, right? Or and you can bring all of these columns if you want to build a relationship, or you can bring one column if you want, and the rest of the columns are not primary keys. They could be a foreign key to another primary key in a different table, but let's use now the scenario that where table 2, where one of the columns building ID, which has unique values, right? And it also does not have null values so it's and also there's no other primary key in the table. It's we use building ID as a primary key. Now, if we were to create another table where we combine records from this table, from table 1 with table 2, then we're going to say in our logic, we're going to say join the table, right? So we're going to say join the table. Sorry, we're going to say join the table based off of join the tables based on building ID. So what's going to happen is the primary keys, which again are unique, are going to be used as relationship identifiers to bring to combine these records with a new table. So we're going to have if we combine them together, then we're going to have a new table that will depending on what we bring from table 1 to table 2 or to the new table, it will look something like uh, this, where you will have the new table or say joint table. So the joint table will have, let's say for building 1, there are two records, right? Then we're going to have two records here. And so we won't, if we decide not to keep these, and if we specify in our join logic that we only want to bring this column and then bring student ID and name in there. So what's going to happen is that we're going to bring all of the names and the student IDs that meet that where the foreign key as it related to the relevant records on table 2. Then we're going to have, let's bring two more columns to the right. And we're going to have student IDs. Let's say since all there's building 1122, so let's bring all of these student IDs here, put them here, and then this is going to, if we do an inner join, this is going to be 11 and 22. So something like this is going to be the result. So the idea is for you to understand that uh, primary key talks to foreign keys and other tables, and we use that talking or that logic to create more tables or join new tables and 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 maintain that relationship based off of those keys or identifiers. Once again, a foreign key is a column or many columns in a table that refers to a primary key in another table. While a table can only have one primary key, a table can have multiple foreign keys. A table can have multiple foreign keys. So, for example, this is a foreign key here. Let's say another foreign key could be, let's say, program, where, if we have another table where the program is the primary key, and we only have two or three categories of programs, BA, MA, and associates, and then we would like to combine how many students are under, or how many students, or whatever relationship we would like to build are under each of these programs, and we can do that. So again, a table can have one primary key. However, when it comes to foreign keys, a table can have more than one foreign key. And secondly, while primary keys cannot have duplicate values, for example, as you see in this case, student ID, we cannot have two students share one student ID. But when it comes to foreign keys, then we can have multiple duplicate values, just as you saw in this case where you have multiple duplicate values. And also foreign keys, while primary keys cannot have null values, foreign columns or foreign key columns can have null values. Also, lastly, a primary key uniquely identify a row in a table, just like you see in this case. Each of the primary key, for example, student ID, uniquely identify this row. So this student ID identifies with this entire row, this entire record. But when it comes to foreign key, it's not always the case, because sometimes you can have multiple foreign keys and they specify more than one row. Uh, this is it. We're going to have examples of uh, uh, examples where we will perform joins between two or more tables, where we will make use of primary keys and foreign keys to create the joining logic. Thank you so much for watching the video.